Hi, everyone. It's me again, Tosh, and I'm here with my good girlfriend,
Sandra C.
and we want to welcome you guys back to what? Further in the conversation?
I almost put the bus down.
Oh, what it is the B-Jib, and I'm excited about us hanging out with these ladies again.
No.
Yeah.
One time for the one time. Wait, it's the 4 ones.
It's the 4 ones. Yeah.
Here we have Miss Latonya Nicole, please.
Hey y'all.
Our cousin. And
The
then we have
cousin.
Miss Kiki. Right. We have Miss Kiki, the Sunday school teacher. And we found out she was also secretary.
Yes,
And you know, she came in with all names. She had them all out, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
And this is, y'all want to join us on this one?
Yeah.
The
Bust down, Jesus, and everything in between.
It's eye-catching.
Oh, it's a conversation.
It's everything.
It's the bust down. Oh my
After our
goodness.
last taping, we were able to just have conversation with each other, just furthering the conversation on. And one thing that we hit on was parenting and our different styles of parenting.
Yeah.
We realized that there are some things that we all have in common. Parenting and the many pieces of parenting, especially when it comes down to being, for me, a young mother, parenting in my late teens, and still going through the involving of how to be a parent and how to also be just giving myself grace to be a parent. And so we just wanted to further the conversation recorded.
Yeah. So I hope that our viewers take from this episode, get to know us a little bit better and understand how we came to the point of where we are today as parents. So what we're going to do is that our showrunner, you guys hear us talk about her all the time, Miss Coco, is going to, she's going to ask us some questions so that you guys can get a baseline. And we can get a baseline so it will make sense when we're answering questions, kind of where that person was or is at that point of time when they're raising their children.
So if this pertains to you, please raise your hand. You became a mom as a teenager. Became a mom by the age of 25.
Yeah.
Additionally, had a baby in your 30s.
Was I 30?
Think
No, I wasn't 30.
Put your
I
hand
was
back
30. Yeah. Okay.
So you had a baby in your 30s?
Yeah.
So raise your hand.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Finished college before you had your first child.
Ooh.
Has 2 years of college. Has a 4-year degree. Has a master's degree. Has had some support when or while raising your children. Married. Once was or still is a single parent.
Once was.
Currently has or has had a therapist.
I need 5 hands.
You want to be both-handed? Put your feet up. What is that? What's 5? Not quad. What is it?
You had 5 therapists?
No. Girl. What is it? Okay, so disregard. My mind goes out in places. Cinco? Yeah. Oh,
That's Spanish.
No, you know how quadruplets, and then if you have 5 kids, it's quints. Yeah,
Quintuplets.
Quintuplets.
5 of them.
Quintuplets
Yeah.
therapy.
It's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do something a little different this time
Okay.
with the word of the day. We each will identify or say a word that we believe when it comes to parenting, what you learned about yourself or you feel like represents you as a parent. You can take it how you want to take it. So for mine, I'm going to say self-awareness.
For me, this is one that I've had this week that I've had adapt to is accountability. So I'm trying to learn to show up accountable in the part that I play.
Okay.
With my children, and the part they say that I don't take accountability, but I'm learning.
Okay, that's good.
Always learning.
Yeah.
I'm going to say responsibility.
Okay.
I'm going to say giving myself grace.
I love it. Love it. Love it. Miss Coco is going to be asking us questions. So for the viewers, you won't see her, but you'll hear her voice. And then we just respond accordingly. So we don't have to go in a particular order. Just as you feel like once she asks a question, if you want to say something, you don't need to ponder on it. Don't ponder. Just go ahead and say it. And let's go from there.
Tell us your parenting style.
I know what mine isn't. It's not what my parenting style is. A little bit of what was instilled in me growing up, and a little bit of what I call the remix that I created for myself. And where I say like part of it is instilled in me. My mom had this way of, we had this nonverbal communication where she taught us in the nonverbal.
Yeah.
It was just a look, and I knew exactly what that look meant. Either you were getting a whooping later, or sit down, you were this close to getting one, or you need to get yourself together. So it was a way that, with that nonverbal, that I carried on to the way that I parent. I talk to my kids in nonverbal, like they know exactly what I'm saying. The part that I didn't take with me, that I wish I had done more in my parenting style, is that my mother made her children very responsible. And I don't think that I did that as a parent, because I wanted them just to be kids. So, you know, it's kind of the saying, you kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. But
I agree.
That's a little bit of my parenting.
Yeah. I like that. I think I got a little bit of that. I would say mine was authoritative. I just needed to make sure that there was order. And that allowed me to control situations. It allowed me, when you talk about accountability and responsibility, I felt like being authoritative spoke to those things, which I felt like were important. I did use the looks that I learned from my parents and grandparents and people in church. What I did not want to do. What I did not use a lot was, even though I did authoritative and gave looks, I didn't want to lead with fear.
Yes.
So I did allow my children to express themselves to me, and I tried to listen. I didn't always agree with it, what they were saying, but I did want them to feel like I do listen to them. So,
Definitely led with fear.
You led with fear?
I definitely led with fear, because I always felt like with my kids, I feel like when you get to a certain, like me and my mom right now, I'm her best friend. But when I was little, baby, I was not her friend.
Yeah.
And my kids, I'm the same way. I am not your friend. Like, you need to be able to distinguish the fact from your friend and me being the parent, and where the respect level. So I think the fear in that sense, that like, don't play with me, go play with them.
Right.
I think my parenting style kind of went in stages, because I was a young parent. And so the only thing I can pull from was the environment that I was in and what I was taught, which was more traditional.
Yeah.
And still trying to also figure out what I didn't want when I was growing up as a parent too, for my child to receive. And then the second child, I kind of understood more so that I did not want to cause any further damage. So I would start evolving and taking traditional with new things, and reading books and learning different areas, and just trying to piece it together.
So you read books?
I did.
Oh wow!
I had read this book on it was something I seen online, and they had sent an ebook of it that talks about parenting and listening, but also listening to yourself. Yeah. Like hearing yourself. Because when I was being a young parent, your parents are telling you what to do. And or your grandparents or people around you, what you should be doing. And you're still dealing with that. So a lot of my stuff was like a robot copy paste for me. And as I got had my second child and my third child, I've even made the statement that each of my children got a different version of me.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
As a parent, because I got to redo those.
I think I got worse.
I think I got better.
I got better for the beginning stage. And then with my oldest, it was like that trial and error stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had trial and error children, but when I say got better, like I think as far as like the parenting may have been better, but I feel like because I had my younger two later in life, I feel like they've got the tired parent of me. Like, like I don't want to be a part of the PTA. I don't want to I already did all that. Like I don't want to go to that was the parent I was with the first two. These later two, like they not.
I feel like the second two got the more present parent, because with my first child, it was almost like she wasn't my child. Like my dad or my parents would go in and say, give me that baby. Right? So I didn't have the confidence of I'm the mother. And it was very big for me to let her, when she started calling me Sandra, I was like, whoa, I need to do something.
So wake up call.
You know, like she's calling me Sandra and calling my grandmother and them mother. And it was only because we all lived in the same home and everyone is saying Sandra to me. And everybody's calling the other ones mother and auntie. And so when I had my second child, I'm at home by myself. So I'm more present. I feel more confident to know that this is my baby that can't be taken from me, that I don't have to share this title with anyone else. So then it made me want to like show up more. Even though I still had my oldest daughter too, showing up for her, I learned how to be more present as a parent with my second too, because I had to. My parents weren't there anymore. I was at home with my husband and it's me and him now. We got to figure this out, but that's how I felt.
So mine is totally different from everybody. So what I took, I said that I would be a totally different parent than my mother was. I feel like you either go one or two ways when you become a parent. You're either going to be just like your parent, or the things that you dealt with when you were a child is going to make you be something totally different.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't do the do as I say, not as I do. I allow my children to ask me why. And here's why. Yeah. If I tell my child to do something and it's something they don't understand, which we kind of talked on, you know, the brain development. Right. If they ask me why, I want them to understand this. I'm never going to tell my children to do something that's not in their best interest. Right. If they ask me why, I'll tell them, hey, this is why. Right. I'm okay with that. Also, the responsibility aspect of it. I don't, and this is no shade to anybody that does it, I don't feel like the older children should be responsible for the younger children. But here's the reason why I parent the way that I parent. I was a parent before I gave birth. Yeah. So my brother looks at me as a mother. Yeah. So when he goes through things, he calls me. Yeah. So even my relationship with my daughter, I've always established boundaries with her, but she knows she'll call me and say, Mama, I need some advice I need your advice as a friend, not as a mama. Yeah. And we have that relationship where my daughter and I are extremely close. Yeah. So a lot of things that some people are not comfortable, some children may not be comfortable discussing with their parents. My daughter called her mama like, Mama, this is what I'm dealing with. How do I navigate through this? And so we do bump heads like a lot, but that's because we're so much alike. But we have a different type of relationship where it's comfortable. And she tell people like, you not gonna call your mama and tell your mama about that? I'm calling my mama. If anything goes wrong, she'll like, I'm calling my mama. Yeah. So I definitely try and lead by example. Yeah. I don't tell my kids, no, don't do this. And then it's something that they know that I'm doing. Right. So I feel like we're kindred spirits because I was a parent, I feel like, before I actually gave birth. Me too. My parents divorced or they split up when I was 7. And so I immediately went into, because I'm the eldest daughter. Secondary parent role. Yeah, so I immediately went into that role of caretaker for my siblings. And at that time, my parents only had 3 children. So now it was a fine line because one moment I'm just their sister. And then when mom is away, now I'm their mom. And I got an older brother. We're not quite a year apart, but I was responsible for him. It's a black woman thing. And then I'm responsible for my sister who's 16 months younger than me. So that was the other reason why when I became a mother myself, okay, I'm going to just focus on them. I'm not going to put that responsibility on the oldest or the oldest girl. But now when I look back, I'm like, I should have gave them some responsibility because they have no clue. Yeah. Like I keep saying, I find myself comparing. When I was y'all age, I had this.
They can't problem solve. And that's because they didn't have to. Right. And where I see parallels in your story, we've been friends a long time. I grew up as an older sibling too. And I always felt like there was a lot of things I couldn't do because my mom was a nurse and she always worked third shift. And so I always was being the parent. So I always say when I had kids, and my kids are 22, 20, 15, and 8. Like even now, like when I reach out, like and I need, like I said, my kids are not babysitters. Even when they come home,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. So they haven't been grown that way.
It's not something that I push.
They're obligated to do.
I push on them because I never wanted them to be, to be in that role. I felt like they were my children.
Yes.
So, but even in that, I feel like I should have given them, like Tosh said, a little bit more responsibility, only because they can't problem solve.
Right.
They can't problem solve. They don't know when issues arise. And I feel like when they're put in the fire is like when they have to be adults, it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah. My thing is my kids don't have a grind like I do because nothing was handed to me. Everything was expected of me. They don't know how to multitask. You put me in a situation where you got to figure it out. I can figure it out. I can take $1 and turn it into 1,000. Like I can figure it out. My kids like, what am I supposed to do? Like, and they irritates me. I'm like, have y'all not watched me? Like are y'all sure y'all my children?
But you covered that from them.
Yeah.
They have not been welcomed into. Like I remember when I went to when I went on the house buying process, my daughter was right there with me. And she went to the table with me with the banker and all of that, and we broke it down. And if she had a question about it, I told her, I answered it for her. And she still don't know much because she still got like, I'm bringing you with me. You're not catching nothing.
Yeah.
She on the phone typing. I'm like, can you put your phone down? I'm trying to show you something.
This is a moment. This is so important. Everybody didn't get to experience that, and they like, okay.
Yeah, because my mom, I've never seen her buy a home. So when I did that, I was like, I want my daughter in the room with me to understand what I'm doing and the how everything laid out, how the finances had to go, how I had to budget. I want her in the room with me to capture it.
Yeah.
She was just in the room like,
because that was an important moment for you.
Right.
That wasn't necessarily an important moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I feel the same way that you do. However, I think that sometimes I know for myself, sometimes I get so in the mindset of I'm chasing a bag because I want to have this, that you get in that mindset that you miss everything.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes we need to take a step back and slow down.
Yeah. Can I ask?
Well, before you answer, let me say this. So for me, when I started having children, I made a conscious decision that it was about them. So I took lesser paying jobs. I always took jobs that worked around their schedule when it came to school, when it came to sports, Girl Scouts, whatever, because I felt like mine didn't show up for me. I didn't have that presence of. So
you wanted to be that.
Yeah. So now,
until you were in a situation where you were equipped to do so, because you weren't a single parent either.
Yes.
So, and I'm just saying that maybe like if you didn't have that aspect, it may would have turned out differently. That you may not have been able to do so.
So I will say this. I was not a single parent for long. I would say it wasn't even 2 years, but I do have a sense of what that feels like. So as my little person is growing, he wants to go play dates and birthday parties. I still made it a point to be able to take him to those things, even if that meant that, okay, I can't take this shift and I'm going to make less of money because I need to. It's important for him to interact with people. So in that respect, but even once I did get married, it was still important. And I thank God that I had somebody else that can help me when, okay, we can trade this off. Now, did the trade-off happen all the time? No, because we went into it with the understanding. I said, this is my role because that was so important to me. To be present, be available, nurture. They don't have to wonder or worry about that. And so even like now, they're like, well, we just feel like you can't. Okay, I need y'all to take me out that role. I need you to be able to handle it yourself.
So do you find that that now that parenting young adults that like you lead with the pocketbook?
But here's the thing. There's stipulations with that. If you're asking me for my coins, because you're an able-bodied person, you are out here making these choices, you have opportunities, then it goes the way I say it go. So you can't say, I need this, and I'm not supposed to say anything about it.
I want to piggyback off something you said about when you knew for a fact that you wanted to be there. I remember I was a single mother for 7 years. And so when young, 18, I want to have better myself. I go into college. I want to, be better for her, things like that. And it was hard to work at Walmart, try to afford daycare.
Yeah.
$92 a week.
Yeah.
And try to go to school and go home and do this all over again with not enough help.
Yeah.
Right. And then also having to hear about, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. And then you don't have the help from the other parties. You got to pick up their responsibility too and yours. Mm-hmm. I had to make a decision, because I wanted to be there.
Yeah.
So my thing was, okay, I need a job that I need to just step back on. And I went to go work at Verizon, where I could just and I had to put my schedule around my child's schedule to be there. Now, that still make you very tiring, because now you have neglected your wants.
Yeah.
And as a parent, you do that a lot.
Absolutely.
You've neglected and abandoned your wants because you done heard so much of people criticizing you.
Yeah.
If you say, can you watch my child while I go do this?
Yeah.
Now I got to deal with, like you said, when you leave, if I get your money, it goes the way you want it to go. Well, if I ask you for help, it also means I have to be stuck with how you're talking.
So are you saying, like, I think I get what you're saying, because I had that too. You had a hard time, as even being a young mother, you had a hard time asking for help or asking somebody to watch your child without you feeling like you were being a burden on them.
Right. Or having to deal with what they're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
When you got people criticizing you and making it seem like that you are not doing what you need to be doing, or belittling you. And so now if I ask you for your help because I want to go do better, then is my child going to also experience those same conversations that I may experience when I was a child? So am I really helping her by trying to go help myself, and I'm putting her inside of an environment that did something?
Right. I like that.
So that was hard. So making that decision to say, okay, you know what? And my professor was like, you can bring her to school, you can do all of that, right? And I was able to bring her to a couple classes. But then she know how to sit down sometimes. Yeah. So it got embarrassing to me and tiring. Yeah. So I became very emotional and decided, you know what? I prayed about it. I got in at Verizon, and it was decent paying. It was also good with insurance, and was able to just take care of her and put the school portion on the back burner, even though I wanted it really bad. Yeah. So I had to do that for a couple years to figure it out. And still evolving as a human and as a person. And then also not even knowing I was going through postpartum. That was a lot tackled on top of something.
Yeah, it is.
And being judged, nobody to really mentor and say, hey, take your time, take a breath, give yourself grace. Yeah. My word of grace. Yeah. You know what? I didn't know, but I still was present to want to be better. Yeah. So I can give myself grace on that and apply myself for those steps that I did take. And being open with her, and just, any conversation you want to have around that time, just being open to be able to change the scenery and also break the curse.
That's it.
Repeating the cycle. Yep. So I was big on environment. Yeah. I didn't want my children to experience an environment that was not favoring to you. Yeah. Yeah. And so it was big on how the house is, where the house is located, and the environment and the people that I have speaking into my kids' lives.
Well, I'm going to say this. That was the reason why. So all of us raised our hand and said we have at least 2 years of college. That was my drive. I didn't want to be on the system long. So whatever time frame that was for me, that's what it was going to be. The minute I got into myself in a better situation, I'm done, because I don't need you in my business. I don't want to have to report. Yeah. I don't like being a statistic. I don't want to be this. I don't want this to be a crush for me. I don't want to get comfortable.
Well, I think for me, like, in seeing surroundings in my family, like the generational curses was so, like, they kind of like lived off the system. To me, I know that people need it, but for me, it was like a plague. Like,
ooh,
I never
say that again.
It's like a plague to me. Like,
man.
So I never, like, no matter how bad I was doing or what I needed to do to get to that point, like, I never was on the system. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. And so it wasn't that necessarily that there wasn't a need for it, but I just seen it like generational. And what led me to the place where I got to with my kids, like, I overcompensated. Yeah. For everything, like, money was never going to be an issue.
Right. Like, everything you didn't have, you want to make sure that
whatever they want to do, like, I found the money. Like, that was always going to be it. Like, if you wanted to do multiple things, like, my kids got to do everything that they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this stigma, like when they have these attitudes and when they say something, I was like, you know what, can't nobody convince me that I was a bad parent. Like you just, baby, and then Jesus himself will have to come down and tell me because like you cannot convince me that I was an awful parent.
Yeah.
Because I know the sacrifices that I made and I know the things that I do so that you didn't have to, you didn't have to go without. So they don't know what it's like to like go out. Like there were times when you were like things weren't perfect. Sometimes when they were good, when I was young, they were good. And sometimes when they were bad, they were like bad. Like my kids, like they don't know what it's like to come home and like flip the switch.
Right. And the lights off. Yeah.
They don't know what it's like.
Trying to water faucet on.
Yeah.
Or having to boil water.
Yeah.
To gas
Or you can't afford milk, so you got to put water in it. Yeah.
Or the mere fact that like internet and cable is a luxury.
Right. Having a computer, a desktop is a luxury.
Yeah.
When I started having to provide every aspect, every need for my home, I began to see my grandparents and my parents' sacrifices that I did not understand before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like you stated, it's a plague, right? They're inside of a system that is like a copy, paste, and repeat, copy, paste, repeat. And so it brings that same mindset.
But for a lot of my family, it was intentional, though. Like, they didn't want better, For some of them, like, it was a thing to, like, get a crazy check or,
Ooh,
to be
some
like,
kind,
how many kids you got, how many food stamps you can get. Like, that was nothing. That was all they aspired to be, and I just couldn't see myself aspiring.
Could you imagine that somebody may have told your grandma, someone down the line that you would never be anything and you might as well, and so that all they can do is go ahead and teach what they know now.
Yeah.
Get a crazy check. You want to be taken care of. Don't work that many hours so you can be under the system and do these different things because it's a learned behavior.
Absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I would even say like from my family, it wasn't even like my grandparents because they hadn't. It was more like something happened when they had those children. And then their children's children, like it just became like they just were like people who just don't believe in working, like able-bodied people. Now you got mental health issues, but everybody do these. Day and time. Yeah. That's because we all should get a check, but
because we live in stress. Yeah,
but no, it's just the mentality of not wanting anything, lazy, just lazy.
So you see so your motivation was you didn't want to be like your family. Mine was different. Mine was I didn't want to be the label that my family put on me. So my family they're very well off, but I got pregnant I had my daughter when I was 15 years old. So the moment that my family found out I was always the black sheep because my mama was the black sheep. So the minute that my family found out I was pregnant, she ain't gonna never be nothing. She gonna always be in the system. She'll never graduate. So my entire mindset, even before I had my daughter, was I'm not gonna be what they've labeled me as. So I get what you're saying. It's just on the flip side of it.
Right. And the irony to your point, that's one side of my family. The other side of my family was very well off, so they thought that too. Like when I'm like those kids, like they moved around so much, they're not going to be anything. And I always tell people, be careful those kids you count out.
Yes.
They be the shit.
That's it.
They should. Yeah. Well, what they do now, they'll say, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Yeah.
That's what you get for thinking.
You got to remind me. Okay.
My mom and my sister's graduation.
Yeah.
The other side of the family was like, I am so proud of her. She said, because you was the one that told me my kids would never be there. I'm like, Mom, it's not the place to do this.
Yeah.
Back down.
But, I would say we all had the mindset that we were going to not allow those terms to define us. We were going to move past that. Even in the back of our mind, we still feel like that. We were going to work so that when people see us, they see this. They don't see those terms that they put on us, right? But let me say this, because you said chasing the bag. Because we all grew up, I would say in the 90s, right? Y'all grew up in the 90s? Okay. And it was that, become independent, be an independent woman. And so doing that. Sort of?
Yeah, because like the stigma in the 90s, like I wish like this generation, the one thing they have now, they're like, it's a stigma to be a baby mama now. Like, I don't think we had that in the 90s. Like, it was kind of okay to be a baby mama in the 90s. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, but nowadays these kids like, you proud of that?
Yeah.
Like, now being pregnant in your 20s is like teen pregnancy right now. And like, I wish we had that. Like, that is like, nope. personally like.
Yeah. But trying to be overachievers because of labels, because of circumstances, because of whatever ideas that people have about you. And you want to make sure your kids are good. In order to do that, all that costs money. Even therapy costs money. You got to have the insurance, or you got to get a good job or a job that offers that, right? And so even as hard as we work to make sure our kids financially were okay, there are still parts of it, I would say, in their, not necessarily in their, well, I feel like there's parts of them that maybe we didn't get to connect on. Because my focus was either I got to take a job that pays lesser to be available to you, but while I'm being available to you, I may not be talking about all the struggles that you're dealing with. Because I'm making sure I'm here to make sure you got something to eat, the house is clean, you get to school, I'm talking to your teachers, I'm PTA. I was a room mom. I was everything for everybody, right? And then when somebody bullies you, okay, we talk about it. We're going to move on, right? And then, but may not have the time.
Was your bullying talk?
No, I'm just saying. Yeah. We talk about it. We go. So stupid. But, and then we move on. What am I Okay, my bad. It was a little bit more. It was a little bit more deeper than that. And then, okay, now I got 3 of y'all that I've got to make sure are good.
Personality,
right. And doing all that, I don't talk to you about self-care because I'm not demonstrating that, because I'm giving you all of this. Either I'm working a lot of hours to make sure you got the house, the car, you get to be in these different sports and stuff, and all that stuff costs, or I'm taking a lesser paying job to make sure I'm present in those ways. But those things are, to me, that are more valuable. I wasn't always able to give because I got to make sure this or that is being handled.
Then you feel guilty, especially
absolutely.
You having a self-care day. What you need
for? Because we have been groomed. Don't worry about yourself. Society tells us you need to be independent women. To be independent women, you got to go to school. And once you go to school, you got to get this certain kind of job, and then you got to get this certain kind of house, you got to get a certain kind of car, you got the bags and all this stuff, right? You got to get your nails done, your hair done all the time. Our self-care is the nails and hair, right? Our self-care is the bags, right? But it may not be a push, and now it's a push now for people to go and see a therapist, work on that internal stuff. So then we don't ever address this old trauma, abandonment issues. And it shows itself. And then when we say to our kids, but I was a good mother to you because you ain't got to worry about being homeless, hungry, lights being off. You got all this stuff available to you.
And then the kid will say, I didn't want all that. I just wanted you there.
And you're like,
damned if you do.
And
damned if you
do. You're like, wait a minute.
So how do you teach your kids to show up for themselves when you can't do
that? Okay.
Go ahead.
So I try to teach my kids that you're going to deal with, at times, disappointment. That is inevitable. And the sooner you learn and deal with that, the better off you will be in life. So just understand that mama can be present, available on this day. That's just one time. But I want you to have a point of reference of these other times I've been there. And they're like, oh, okay. They get it in that way. So I just try to teach my kids early on. Sometimes life is just not going to be the way you want it to be. But you give them affirmations and let them know that they can show up for themselves, even if somebody else is not there physically for you. Because I could be there, but I'm here. So am I really here? Am I really present?
Yeah.
So
I had to teach. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I had to teach my daughter, kids, that when it comes down to showing up for yourself, you should definitely always be loyal to yourself and understand you're going to change.
Yeah.
Your life's going to change. That people are not technically obligated to you.
Right.
So all that thing about that person just left me high and dry and I can't even stand anymore because they're not even there.
Right.
Well, you have to be able to stand on your 2 feet. Not that you need to be a loner, but you need to understand that sometimes you don't have to stay in a situation because that person opened the door for you first day of school.
Right.
Things are going to change, and it's okay for you to change. Say, you know what, this doesn't serve me anymore. Let me do this. And I have to talk with my daughter a lot about that because she has this attachment thing. And it's like, okay, I need you to always be right here, and I need you to always be like when I call you, you to answer. And she do that not only with me, but with friends. If they don't be there, oh, they were fake, but this was phony. But then you're always showing up. Wait a minute. So why can't you be there for yourself?
The way you're there. That's exactly how I am with my daughter. You look in the mirror
and you see this hair color you want. Why I have to ask 10 people about it?
Right.
Just go try it. If you don't like it, just tone it down. You know, like giving her that encouragement to not chastising her for it, but encouraging her that, hey, you can go with your thoughts. Like,
have you always been like that way with your daughter?
No, until I started noticing it.
Okay.
When I started noticing how she was being overly emotional about certain things, I was like, whoa, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And I had to teach her what I had to also learn about showing up for self, because there was times where I never showed up for self.
Yeah.
So as I started learning how to show up for self, I started teaching my daughter. Now my other ones they're a little still younger, but I started teaching her about how to show up for self and how to hear
I think
self.
Part of it too is, and this is one thing I had to go through with my daughter, is that they got to realize everybody has a perspective.
Right.
My daughter would always in her mind, like, it would just go off and whatever her way was in her mind, that it was
supposed to be like that.
And I'm like, sometimes you got to realize that people have a perspective, and sometimes you don't take the time to get to know other people's perspective, so you don't know the reason why they felt the way they felt. And a lot of times I'd be like, well, did you ask them? Well, no, I just felt like they were being like this. Well, no, you need to ask them, because you don't know there's something you said or something you done. Other people have other triggers, and even in that, the way that their perspective, that's where they perceive it, culture difference.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, mine is really kind of a combination of all of y'all. I had to learn from a very early age to show up for myself, because I didn't have anybody to show up for me. So I've always been like, okay, you know, well, if this is how I feel, you know, showing up, nobody else is going to show up for me. I'm going to show up for myself. And that trickled to my daughter, but on the far end of the spectrum, like your daughter. And I have to tell her sometimes, like, hey, it's not all about you.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful of other people's opinions. They may not think the way that you think. No two people think the same.
Right.
And I didn't understand why she was that way until one day she said, Mama, you don't care about what people say. And I'm like, okay, now I see why you think that way.
Yeah.
I did have a part in that.
Yeah.
So I had to take a step back and I said, yeah, but that's because I had to teach myself at a really early age, girl, you got to show up for yourself. Had I had someone to show up for me, and I told her, I said, you got a mom, you know, you have people in your life that show up for you. And that kind of changed
back to background.
Yeah, it goes back to background, depending on.
It's like I definitely do that. Like, I can advocate for myself and show up for myself, but I was always good about other people's perspective. Like even before we were taping, like Tasha and I were like talking, I really knew why she stopped. You know what I'm saying? Because again, my perspective, I really do. I have this thing like with people, I instantly, when I meet people, don't judge me. When I meet people, I instantly pull out people's flaws. So that's the way I know how to deal with them. That way I know how to deal with and look over your flaws, because I know I don't like that part of you. So I instantly do that when I meet people. So in that sense, I already have a perspective. And that was something that I think I didn't teach her, that you need to not necessarily look for people's flaws, but she need to realize that that's not necessarily your perspective. This may be why I know why I don't like this quality about you, because I already noticed it off the top. So if I pull it out, I know how to deal with it. So,
and
I like that. If you know it's a snake, why charm it?
Yeah, like
because you may be one of those individuals like me that I know it's a snake, but the snake wants to be around me. So that snake gives me some type of validation.
Those different attributes. Like if you know that part is a snake, why charm it? So now if I know these things about you,
I understand that, but I'm just saying I'm that person that I can see all of that. And I'm gonna be if I gotta charm that just so you can be around me, that's me.
So you rather get bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
I was gonna say, what are you doing to work on that to kind of get yourself
in therapy? I'm really working on me.
Do you think it's glorified to be a strong, Black, independent woman in the vision of our children?
I try not to glorify that too much, because something I realized for me, with it being glorified with me growing up, it was very hard to tap into the feminine side when I got married. It was hard for me to tap into the side of just being well, I'm a woman, but just being that soft. I hate that word, but just being gentle. Mm-hmm. And so, and I wanted, my oldest got that, but my youngest didn't, to the point where she can remember. Where I wanted them to basically know that, be a woman. You don't have to be this superwoman that can take on everything and equipped to hit the wind and all these different things. I think about like a house. Mm-hmm. You can't be the roof.
Right.
The roof is made with certain structures that can take hail damage and rain and wind. You're not that part. You're the one that does the inside portion. You're made to be covered. And so I have to present myself in such a way that shows the firmness and the gentleness and the softness and all those things in one, and not the always, I got it. No, babe, can you reach that for me? Mm-hmm. Or can I go sit down on those things? Or do I not have to always be the one that's making the decision or being so upfront, but still wanting you to have your own mind and still show up? It's a balance.
I do think it's glorified, and I feel like it puts an unrealistic expectation of a mother on a child.
Yes. Yeah.
So our kids expect us, it doesn't matter, my mama can handle it. We put all this, the kids can get to a point where they put all this pressure on the mother, and it dehumanizes them as if she don't have no feelings. Nothing hurts her feelings. Yeah. So I think so. That's why I allow my kids to see me cry. Yeah. If I'm having my kids know, like, I have moments I will turn my phone off for a whole weekend. I allow my kids to see me go through all the stages, all the feelings of being a human, so they know, my mama can handle stuff, but she shouldn't have to handle everything, and things do hurt her feelings. Yeah. And I think that changes the relationship with your children when they realize, like, oh man, she a human too. Like, let me be mindful of how I let me tread lightly, because I don't want to hurt my mama's feelings, because that's not even what the intention is. Right. And I think a lot of times it also teaches kids to be careful of the things that they say. Yeah. Because if you present this strong Black woman, they'll never know what your triggers are. Yeah. And then they're going to say something to trigger you, and the way that you react, you're going to react irrationally. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be like, I didn't even mean it like that. Right. But that's because they don't know what your triggers are. Versus if you have a conversation, and I think this all ties into communication. Yeah. Have an open dialogue between you and your kids. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that has happened to me. My daughter knows it all. Yeah. I think people need to, I'm your parent. There are certain things that children don't need to know. Yeah. But the world is so different. Mm-hmm. We need to be teaching our kids, like, hey, things like this are happening. Yeah. If this is something that you see or something that happens to you, I want to create a safe space for you so that you can come and have that conversation with me. So I think that I don't think it's a good thing.
I think it demasculates men too.
For sure.
And to your point, that happened to me yesterday. Like, my daughter said something, didn't realize it was a trigger for me, because I haven't shown up to be one. All they know me is to be this strong Black woman, and I unconsciously did that. And I'm gonna be very brief, but I'm gonna say how it shows up in females and how it shows up when you have a male son. In female, like, I feel like that I unconsciously taught my daughter that I'm like this, my oldest daughter, that I'm this strong Black woman. Nothing gets to me, nothing bothers me. I don't cry, like, I don't have feelings or anything like that. And I really do, but I don't show that part of it. Not because I think it's because I'm weak or anything. It's just not, I don't know, probably personality more so than anything. But I think it showed up, that it showed her, now that I'm watching her, how she moves in her young adult world, that, and her dynamic with, like, dating is like, me having a man is like bonus. Like, I can have him because if I want him, but I don't need him. Ooh. And I unconsciously taught her that. Not anything I said, anything I did, but the way that I moved and the way that I provided a lifestyle for them. The way that it showed up in my son is he think women are superwomen. He think that a woman could potentially be, and I hear it in his conversation and things he say, and then the way that he showed up there, like, especially with this whole thing being, glorified, when the Kevin Samuels, and he emphasizes a lot with that, but showing up that he think that a woman is like superwoman, like, we can cook, we can clean, we can be the mother, and then we're going to have a job, and we're going to bring 50-50 to the table. Like, So I showed him that because I did all that. Like,
I appreciate you for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I really, because a lot of women are not able to acknowledge that accountability.
Mm-hmm.
No, honestly, I respect that a lot. Yeah.
So now I'm trying to dial it back. Like, you know what, son? Like, if there had been a time in my life where I didn't, even though there have been periods where I've been married where I didn't have to be a single mother, even though I was married and I was still operating as though a single mother. I think as far as doing everything for the children in the household, not necessarily the bills, but I'm like, this is not what a woman really should be doing. This is not what God designed us to be able to do. So I think that's what I showed him unconsciously.
Yeah.
And not intentional.
So for me, I think my children now feel like I'm a strong woman. And I say that because I want to know, I'm just very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's bothering me, even if I don't have the words to tell you, I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they would see me be, soft in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm one that I learned early about my femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I didn't know that was a term, I call it when I'm talking to someone and being nice, and some people say, oh, you're flirting. That's not me flirting.
Yeah.
That's just me being nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that everybody doesn't give off that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's an attraction for children and for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I'm in this role of business owner and I have to be matter of fact, we have to do it like this. And my kids are around to see me. They're like, oh, it's different because at home. And then I will say, I've been fortunate to have a husband. So that does make things different.
Not just the husband, but
a solid partner.
Yeah. Right.
It's different because I had that too.
Yeah. And we did display.
I mean, no shots fired, but I'm just saying,
I don't have a husband, so I'm just
actually showing up.
Yeah.
And making it where you can actually
she can live in that femininity
where you
Mm-hmm.
And that's
spot for me.
And the femininity is warranted.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want no masculine man, a woman.
You don't.
He won't, puppy eyes. Because I used to, when we first started dating, I said, I'm a damsel in distress. Because I knew that's what guys wanted. They want to feel like they the same. You call it Captain Save or whatever, but they do. They want to feel needed. And so I call it ego stroking. And I did ego stroke. So still do.
Whole nother podcast.
Yes. But I'm just saying. So when
I got a lot to say.
So when you see us interact, even now, I am very mindful that in certain settings, he takes the lead.
Mm-hmm.
You do good at that.
Very.
Thank you.
Even I noticed that. In my little short amount of time here. Yeah.
So, but my kids get to see that they've always thought that mom is soft. She is, if you want to say strong or authoritative when needed, but they've always saw that softer side. No, I don't glorify the strong Black woman. I think she needs rest.
Yeah.
She needs care. She needs tenderness. She needs love.
Mm-hmm.
She needs honor. Yeah.
And
absolutely. Affirmations.
Yeah. And I think it's led for me, for my kids, that they feel like, that they can, like I tell them all the time, they drop all their baggage and everything.
Oh, you the
on
sponge,
me.
yeah.
And like everything on me, and it's like it doesn't matter because they used to me absorbing everything for them or problems.
And you haven't broke, and so they think, oh, she can handle this. So you just keep piling on and keep piling on, and it's like a laundry. You keep piling clothes on there, they gonna fall off. Something's gonna fall off, and that's the unfortunate thing is that we will neglect ourselves to make sure everybody else is okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're the glue that's supposed to keep it together, if the glue comes undone, then what happens?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you find yourself falling into friendship zones with your children and not being a full parent?
Not where my coin is. If I'm still paying
that
the coin,
right there,
you are still the child. My children are not there. They're in college. So my older two, and then, I still have two at home. So right now, like, I feel like we a little bit more friendly, but we ain't friends because my coin is still involved. So as long as it's my coin, I get an opinion. That's how I feel about it. Now, when they are graduating and off on their own, we can be besties. They can do whatever they want to do on their dime. And I wouldn't leave all my opinions to myself.
Yeah.
And that's
I feel like I done went into the co-pilot seat a little bit.
Okay.
Like I'm letting her make her decisions on what she want to do, and sometimes like I want to like just scream and like you said on my own dime, you got to do it this way,
right?
And I realized too, even on my own dime, you still can mess up this dime or be unhappy. So so it's a moment of I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
mine just turned 18.
Yeah,
so I'm still trying to figure that part out. So I'm gonna pass that question because sometimes I just feel like I went into the co-pilot seat just a little bit. Where I'm just watching her, like, you know, figure out her own airplane.
Now, I do, like, with my oldest, like, I feel like, and I had this discussion with her the other day, and we, like, really had this big blow up. And it's because she do things, like, she don't want my opinion. Like, she don't want my advice. And then she messed it up, and then you want me to fix it. But I'm like, if you had let me in to begin with, I wouldn't be having to fix it for you. Or whatever. But again, like I tell them, if you don't want me to have an opinion, you need to figure out how to pay for it on your own. Because when it's my coin, it's the who, what, when, and why.
Yeah,
that's just it.
I wear my coin.
Right.
I know.
For me, so my daughter is 20. She has her own apartment. I mean, she's in college. She has her own apartment 2 hours away. She pays her own rent. She pays her own bills. Not that I wouldn't help her, but she was like, "No, Mama. You raised me right. I can do this." So she pays her own bills. Now we had a little spat a couple weeks ago about my dime, some with a car. But other than that, like it's pretty balanced between us. But I think I can only say that because we've been together both our lives. I had her when I was 15.
Yeah.
So she saw me she's seen me evolve. Yeah. We grew up together. So like I said earlier, if it's something, or she'll call me and she'll say, "Okay, Mama, look, I need your help as not as my mama, as a friend."
Yeah.
Okay. Or if she says, "Mama, I need your help as my mama."
Right.
Then I'll tackle it that way.
How do you take that head off? Because I have not, even though my kids have never came to me and say as a friend, and I think I have great relationships with my kids, they can talk. But I'm always in mama mode. Like, I don't know how to.
You're always in mama mode. You just have to bite your tongue.
Yeah,
that's it.
I pray a lot,
and it's a lot of prayer. But sometimes But the craziest thing is when she say, "Mama, I need your advice as a friend." As we're discussing it, she'll spit out what I want to say anyway.
Yeah.
So it's all about
get it all out.
You know you raise your kids right.
Yeah.
So you have to trust in yourself that you raise your kids right.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll figure it out. Like they're just navigating through life just like you did whenever you were that age. It's the same. It's the same circumstances. It's just a different time.
But I think the responsibility is different. Like at their age, like I was very mature for my age.
But you had to be.
Yeah, but I don't think my kids
because they don't have to be
waiting on it to kick in.
Yeah, they don't have to be.
Well, I think some of that is you got to let them sit in it. So I'm not quick to run to the rescue because running to the rescue was when you were.
I'm by nature, I'm a fixer though, so I don't know how to not do that.
But you got to work on that in you.
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you this: when someone gave me some really good advice, when I think it was. My son was about 2, and the person said, "You're not raised. This is your son, but you're not. This is not just your son. This is someone who's going to go out into the world. It's going to be somebody's future husband, employer, employee, citizen, neighbor, friend." And so they got to know how to operate in their world. The sooner you start thinking like that when you're raising them, then you'll know when to pull back. Now, I have had to pull back, and I ain't gonna say I haven't cried about it, but I had to let them sit in some stuff. Because my thinking is, if it's the way I want it to be, I'm gonna pass before they will, and I want them to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah, I got one. I'm known as a fixer too, but then I had to readjust my lens on what's broken.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with being a fixer. I had to really find out, Sandra, are you looking at that broken because you would have done it differently?
Yeah.
But it's not technically broken for them. So that was another way I was able to pull back on things with my children or family or friends.
I think it's more so just the nurture in me. And the mother,
I get that.
The mother in me that it breaks my heart to see my kids to be struggle or to see them sad. That's just within me. You know, and those are things that I'm learning on that I don't like. I can fix it with my younger two, but I don't know that I can with my older two.
Oh, you still have time. You still have time. Yeah.
I don't know.
Because just as well as you're evolving, they are too.
Yeah.
And so,
that may be on them, though. You know, as they evolve, maybe it'll get better. You know, I can like back up.
But here's the thing: if you don't back up and I keep coming to you, you keep fixing it, then how am I ever going to be able to handle that on my own? How are you ever going to get an opportunity? Because there has to be a baseline. There's got to be one situation where you guys say, you know what? You're going to have to sit in that. And let them try to figure out on their own. Because you talk about they need to be able to be problem solvers.
They do.
But
and that's my biggest fear, what you said. My biggest fear is to leave this world. My kids can't live in the world without me. Because like I say today, you know, my parents are still living. But if they left this world today, I would be fine. I can take care of myself. I don't have that hope for my children yet. So, you know.
I'm going to tell you, so I had a conversation with my daughter. This was probably 2 years ago, 3. It was 2 years ago because she wanted to get an apartment. And it was rough because it's my fault because I thought she was going to say, I want to get an apartment. I want you to pay for it. So that's me thinking already in fixer mode. Let me figure out how to fix this. So I can't remember what it was that. And then she said something and I had to tell her, I said, let me explain something to you. I've lived in this world without you. You've never lived in this world without me. And when I told her that, like a light bulb went off in her head and it made her start behaving like everything was different. Because I guess she was like, oh, I need to figure this out because what if she not here and I don't have somebody to run to?
I've lived in this world without you. You ain't never lived in this world without me.
I'm saying that.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Say it again.
I've lived in this world without you. You've never lived without me.
That's right.
Y'all hear that?
That's it.
Wait, I want y'all to go
Let me rewind.
About minute 27 and slow it down and listen to.
I've lived in this world without you. You've never lived in this world without me.
That's her. That is so her.
That's facts right there. This was good, y'all. This was good.
I had a good time as always.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So we're at the spot where it's just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to use all of our words.
Yeah.
In parenting.
Yeah.
Give yourself grace.
Mm-hmm.
Be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Be responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And be, I almost said present, but you said
self-awareness.
Self-awareness. And take care of yourself.
Yeah. We must do this again.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be like a recurring thing.
I think we got some more stuff to talk about. Yeah.
I mean, wait a minute. It was something we wanted to run it back on. You said it was going to be a different show.
Yeah.
Ego stroking.
Oh, yeah.
We got it.
That's my bit.
I'm an expert.
Different strokes for different folks.
I'm an expert in that.
Right?
We have to do the segment of the sexes. Both of y'all are married and both of us are now single.
Okay.
And then, you know, even I have the divorce perspective too. So that would be great.
Love it. Love it.
I'm with it.
Yeah, we're going to run into some mailmen.
Well,
good grief, Charlie Brown. Wait a minute.
I got your mail.
Yeah. Shout out to the mailman.
Maybe.
Yeah. You know what we did not do?
We did not talk about what our bust down is.
Right.
This bust down for me is the whole conversation.
Okay.
I felt so, I got some really good takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like almost like a village. Where I know that I spent some, you all have already met some areas I have not met yet with my daughter, roadblocks I'm going to actually have to use. I'm going to have to use like all y'all words.
Yeah.
If it's my dime, I
my
say
way.
who, what, and
yes.
Yeah.
I feel lighter for some reason.
Yes.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that too.
I feel like it was definitely self-care
Mm-hmm.
because it allows us to kind of compartmentalize some things and talk to the village and get a consensus on some things as well as process some deep-rooted stuff.
And talk without judgment.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So I enjoyed this. We must do it again.
We'll be back, y'all.
Y'all will.
Right.
Okay, so the bust down is just the conversation.
That was my bust down. What's your
Oh,
bust down?
girl, everything about me.
Okay. It's the pony. It's the pony.
Somebody told me that they wanted me to throw the hair like.
Throw it, girl.
So I need slow mo on this, okay?
You want to?
I need slow mo. That's for J. Nicole. Yeah, what's your bust down today?
It's the same. I'm dressed on
She's dressed on Saturday. Yes, okay. Black
Well, my
heels.
bust down is the same. It's my nails.
Yes,
Oh,
honey.
okay.
They for the people.
They always
Put them up.
Mine. I ain't got to feel
Look,
it.
she both handed.
I know.
She both handed in the
Look,
district.
I didn't lost my hands.
Oh, okay. Well, tell the people where they can find us, Sandra.
thebjeb@gmail.com.
Yes.
On all social media platforms at the bust down.
At the bus stand. Okay, until next time. Bye.
Be creative. Be authentic. Be beautiful. Be all the things God has designed you to be.
Don't be apologetic for not allowing others to make you feel like you don't matter.